Alright folks, buckle up because we're about to take a wild ride through some seriously twisted realities. What if the world wasn't quite how we know it? Imagine a different history, a twisted reality, or a future we hope never comes. Today we're diving into 12 games that create fascinating and terrifying alternative versions of our world. From alien invasions to dystopian futures, these games take our reality and turn it upside down. Trust me, after playing these, you'll never look at our world the same way again. So, grab your favorite snack, settle in, and prepare to have your mind blown. We're about to embark on a journey through 12 games that'll make you question everything you thought you knew about our world. Alright, let's kick this off with a bang. At number 12, we've got Resistance 3. Now picture this, Earth's not exactly having its best day. In fact, it's having the worst day imaginable. We're talking alien invasion on steroids. In this alternate timeline, our little blue planet is under siege by the Chimera. These aren't your garden variety aliens, folks. They're not here to phone home or ask for directions to the nearest intergalactic gas station. Nope, these guys mean business. And by business, I mean pushing humanity to the brink of extinction. It's like War of the Worlds, but cranked up to 11. Imagine if those tripods had a baby with a Terminator, and that baby grew up with serious anger issues. That's what we're dealing with here. And us humans, we're having the mother of all bad days. You thought your Monday morning was rough? Try waking up to find out you're one of the last surviving humans on a planet overrun by technologically superior aliens. Talk about a case of the Mondays. But hey, if you've ever wanted to feel like the underdog in the fight of your life, Resistance 3 has got you covered. It's like David versus Goliath, if Goliath was a horde of alien invaders and David had some seriously cool weapons. Now speaking of invasions, what if the wrong side won a world war? At number 11, we're going to an alternate 1960s with Wolfenstein, The New Order. It's the 1960s, but not the groovy kind with peace signs and flower power. No, in this twisted timeline, the Nazis won World War II. Yeah, let that sink in for a moment. They've taken over the world, and you're smack dab in the middle of their global domination. Imagine waking up every day to swastikas everywhere, like some nightmarish historical fever dream. You're not just reading about it in a history book, you're living it. It's like the worst history class you could ever imagine, but with a lot more explosions. The game puts you in the shoes of BJ Blazkowicz, a resistance fighter who's had enough of this Nazi nonsense. And let me tell you, BJ doesn't just take names and kick butt, he does it with style. We're talking high-octane action scenes that would make any blockbuster jealous. You thought your history class was bad? Try dodging bullets and blowing up Nazi robots while your teacher drones on about dates and treaties. Yeah, no thanks. One of my favorite moments? When you get to storm a Nazi moon base. Yup, you heard me right, a moon base. It's like someone took all the wildest conspiracy theories and mashed them into one epic showdown. Alright, moving on from oppressive regimes to drug-induced euphoria, let's take a trip to a bizarre version of England.
There.
Look, this is not a spectacular time.
You said you know General Bing.
Yeah, he's a client.
Coming in at number 10 is the twisted world of We Happy Few. Now picture this, it's 1960s England, but not the quaint tea and crumpets version you might be imagining. Nope, in this reality, everyone's hooked on a little pill called joy. And let me tell you, this isn't your grandma's medicine. Joy keeps everyone blissfully ignorant of the harsh truth surrounding them. Imagine walking down the street, and everyone's got these unnervingly wide grins plastered on their faces. It's like the creepiest neighborhood block party you've ever attended, but everyone's on something a little stronger than tea. You know that feeling when you've had one too many cups of coffee and everything feels just a bit too bright? Crank that up by 100 and you've got joy. In this world, the streets are lined with colorful bunting and people dance around like they're at a perpetual carnival. But there's a catch. Miss your dose of joy and suddenly those bright colors fade to reveal a grim, decaying reality. It's like peeling back the wallpaper to find mold underneath. One moment you're chatting with Mrs. Neighborly about her award-winning roses. The next, she's trying to beat you senseless with a garden gnome because you've dared to see things as they really are. Alright, enough about dystopian pharmaceuticals. Let's fly high into a floating city that's more terrifying than it seems.
Still got a girl to find.
At number 9, we enter the clouds with BioShock Infinite. Set in a version of early 20th century America, you explore Colombia, a floating city with extreme political ideologies. Imagine the World's Fair took off on a helium balloon and never came back down. The whole place is suspended in the sky, drifting among the clouds like some twisted utopia. Walking through Colombia feels like stepping into a postcard from an alternate history. On the surface, it's all grand parades, brass bands, and patriotic fervor. But dig a little deeper and you realize it's Disneyland if Disneyland was run by an ultranationalist cult with a serious god complex. The residents worship the founding fathers like they're divine beings, and their leader, Comstock, has everyone convinced he's the prophet of a new age. You can't go 5 steps without seeing his face plastered on a poster or hearing his voice booming from a loudspeaker. It's like Big Brother with a white beard and more flair for the dramatic. One of my favorite parts? The vigors. Imagine drinking something that gives you powers, like shooting fire from your hands or summoning flocks of murderous crows. It's like mixing Red Bull with magic potion and watching what happens. But don't get too comfortable up there in the clouds. Things get pretty dicey when you start peeling back the layers of this so-called paradise. Let's swap the sky for space in a universe where JFK survived the assassination attempt. Number 8 takes us to the stars with Prey. In this alternate 1963, President Kennedy survived, leading to the rapid development of space travel and, of course, alien invasions on a space station. Picture this. Kennedy dodges the bullet and decides to kick the space race into overdrive. Next thing you know, we're not just putting men on the moon, we're setting up space stations like they're neighborhood coffee shops. And that's where Talos comes into play. A shiny space station floating around, minding its own business until aliens. Because why not? Remember that space race we learned about in school? Turns out aliens didn't get the memo. While we're busy planting flags and making grand speeches, these creepy creatures called Typhon decide to crash our cosmic party. And trust me, these aren't your friendly ET types looking for Reese's Pieces. So there I am, floating through the sleek halls of Talos 1, trying not to get my face eaten by aliens that can shapeshift into everyday objects. One minute you're reaching for a coffee mug, next minute it's trying to strangle you. Talk about a bad caffeine fix. It's like living in a horror version of the Jetsons, where instead of Rosie the robot maid, you've got mind-bending aliens and mind-bending powers thanks to some fancy neuromods. Want to lift heavy objects or shoot electricity from your fingertips? There's a mod for that. Now, from futuristic space stations to plague-ridden cities with magical assassins.
You squeeze out every drop of wine you can, then you pass it. Put that on my tools.
At number 7, we're stepping into the Victorian-esque city of Dishonored. Imagine an alternate version of 19th century England, where technology and magic collide amidst a deadly plague. The streets are dark, the air thick with tension, and everyone's looking over their shoulder. This isn't your typical Victorian setting. Forget cobblestone streets and horse-drawn carriages. Here you've got whale oil-powered gadgets and supernatural assassins. It's like if Sherlock Holmes had supernatural powers and a bit more of a violent streak. So there I am, sneaking through the shadowy alleys of Dunwall, trying to avoid plague-ridden rats the size of small dogs. You'd think a city battling an epidemic would be grim enough, but no. Throw in some dark magic and mechanical monstrosities for good measure. One moment I'm perched on a rooftop watching guards patrol below. The next I'm using Blink, a nifty little teleportation trick, to pop behind one of them and knock him out cold. It's like playing hide and seek with the added thrill of possibly getting skewered by a sword if you're not careful. And let's talk about the masks. Everyone in this city seems to love a good masquerade, especially our protagonist, Corvo Attano. His mask is part plague doctor, part steampunk nightmare, a perfect blend for striking fear into enemies' hearts while keeping things stylish. Next up, we head to an alternate Victorian London with a bit more firepower and monsters.
But we have confirmation of multiple marks at Grosvenor Square.
What are directives?
Rendezvous at the United India House with Igraine and Lafayette.
Taking the 6th spot is The Order, 1886. Imagine this, an alternate version of 19th century London, where the fog isn't the scariest thing lurking in the shadows. Nope, we've got knights battling supernatural beasts using advanced technology. Picture steampunk and knights with electric weapons fighting werewolves. Sounds fun, right? So there I am, strutting through Victorian London with a squad of elite knights. We're not talking rusty armor and broadswords here. Think Tesla coils and and thermite rifles. It's like someone mashed up Sherlock Holmes with Frankenstein and threw in a dash of Blade Runner for good measure. One minute, I'm sipping tea in a lavish parlor. The next, I'm knee-deep in a werewolf brawl in the middle of a dark alley. These aren't your grandma's fairy tale werewolves either. They're big, they're bad, and they've got a serious case of rage issues. The best part, the gadgets. Ever tried taking down a beast with an arc gun? It's like shooting lightning bolts from your hands. And let's not forget the monocular, fancy term for a steampunk sniper scope. Makes you feel like a futuristic Sherlock Holmes, minus the deerstalker hat. And speaking of high-tech wizardry, let's not overlook the thermite gun. Picture this, spraying an area with flammable powder and then igniting it from afar. It's like having your own portable fireworks show, but with more singed fur. Alright, enough Victorian-era monster hunting. Now let's move from foggy London to a post-apocalyptic Moscow. At number 5, we're diving into the post-apocalyptic world of Metro Exodus. Imagine a future where nuclear war has turned the surface of Earth into a toxic wasteland. Survivors? They're huddled underground in metro stations, clinging to life in a maze of tunnels. So there I am, navigating the dark and grimy underbelly of Moscow. It's like someone took the worst parts of your morning commute, crowded spaces, weird smells, and threw in a dash of nuclear fallout for good measure. Only here, instead of grumpy commuters, you've got mutants and bandits lurking around every corner. I'm creeping through an abandoned station, my flashlight flickering as I scan for supplies. Every creak and distant growl sets my nerves on edge. It's like playing hide and seek with creatures that really don't play fair. The air down here is thick and stale, a far cry from the fresh morning breeze you'd usually expect. My gas mask fogs up as I inch forward, peeking around corners with all the caution of someone who's seen one too many horror movies. And then there's the mutants. These aren't just oversized rats, they're nightmarish beasts straight out of your worst fever dreams. Ever tried dodging a mutant mole rat the size of a small car while scrambling to reload your shotgun? Yeah, it's one way to wake up faster than coffee ever could. It's like your morning commute, but with more mutants and a lot less hope. Speaking of resistance, let's take a look at a world where aliens conquered Earth. Coming in at number 4 is Half-Life 2. In this alternative reality, the alien Combine Empire has enslaved Earth, and I'm part of the resistance. Let me tell you, it's not your average day at the office. I'm strolling through City 17, a dystopian urban nightmare that makes my old hometown look like a 5-star resort. The streets are patrolled by these towering, mechanical striders that look like they stepped right out of War of the Worlds. It's like the Matrix, but with a crowbar instead of slow-motion kicks. Speaking of that crowbar, it's become my best friend. Who knew a simple tool could be so versatile? Need to pry open a door? Crowbar. Alien head crab jumping at your face? Crowbar. It's the Swiss Army knife of the apocalypse. But the real star of the show, the gravity gun. Imagine being able to pick up and fling anything not nailed down. It turns everyday objects into deadly projectiles. Saw blades, exploding barrels, even toilets. Nothing's off limits. It's like playing the world's most dangerous game of fetch. And don't get me started on the Combine themselves. These guys make the worst landlords look like saints. They've redecorated Earth with their idea of home improvement. Force fields, energy barriers, and those creepy pods that turn humans into mindless soldiers. Talk about extreme home makeover gone wrong. Now, how about a trip to the wastelands of a nuclear desert in the American West? Number 3 takes us to the post-nuclear world of Fallout, New Vegas. Ah, the Mojave Wasteland, where the American dream went to die, got irradiated, and then came back as a slot machine-loving zombie. I'm trudging through the sun-baked desert, my Pip-Boy beeping like it's having an existential crisis. The ruins of Vegas loom in the distance, a neon oasis in a sea of sand and regret. It's like someone took the glitz and glamour of Sin City and put it through a nuclear blender. I've got a pocket full of bottle caps, the new currency of choice, because apparently Apparently, Nuka-Cola survived better than the US dollar. Go figure. I'm heading to the Strip, dodging rad scorpions the size of compact cars and Cazadoris that make murder hornets look like cuddly pets. Vegas, the only place where you can gamble with bottle caps and fight giant mutated insects in the same day. It's like nature decided to have its own twisted casino night. I stroll into the Lucky 38, ready to try my luck. The roulette wheel spins, and I can't help but think it's a perfect metaphor for life in the wasteland. You never know if you're gonna hit the jackpot or get mauled by a death claw. From nukes to monsters, let's step into a dark fantasy world with an eerily familiar political landscape. Taking the number 2 spot is The Witcher 3: Wild Hunt. Imagine a world where medieval Europe's charm collides with monstrous chaos. I'm not just talking dragons and fair maidens here. This realm mirrors our own history, but with a twist. Political intrigues, societal woes, and of course, the occasional ghoul lurking in the woods. So there I am, strolling through the bustling streets of Novigrad. It's like medieval Times Square, but with more horse dung and fewer flashing billboards. The political tension hangs thick in the air. Nobles squabble over power while commoners hustle for scraps. And amidst it all stands Geralt of Rivia. White hair, cat-like eyes, and a no-nonsense attitude. Geralt isn't your typical hero. He's got a wit sharper than his swords and an uncanny knack for monster slaying. I can't help but think, if we had someone like Geralt around today, he'd probably handle our world's problems with the same stoic efficiency. Corrupt politician? Bam! Drowner infestation at City Hall? No problem. He might even get rid of those annoying telemarketers for good. Finally, we step into a world where reality bends and twists in ways you've never imagined. And taking the top spot is Control. In this alternate reality, the Federal Bureau of Control deals with strange paranormal forces that warp and twist reality itself. Imagine walking into an office building where the filing cabinets might just decide to float away, or where the walls shift like they've got a mind of their own. It's like if the FBI had a baby with the X-Files, but with way more floating furniture and mind-bending powers. So there I am, strolling through the oldest house, the FBC's headquarters. It's a brutalist architectural nightmare where every corridor seems to lead somewhere different every time you walk it. One minute I'm in a sterile office space, the next I'm in a room where gravity is more of a suggestion than a rule. Papers swirl around me like they're caught in an invisible tornado, and I can't help but think this is what happens when you let office supplies unionize. Then there's Jessie Faden, our protagonist. She's got this whole mysterious past thing going on, and enough psychic abilities to make Professor X jealous. Picture this, you're minding your own business, trying to get some paperwork done, when Jessie walks in and starts hurling desks with her mind. It's like Casual Friday took a hard left turn into chaos. The best part? The Hiss, this creepy entity that turns normal employees into deranged zombies. Ever tried holding a staff meeting when half your team's possessed by an evil force? Let's just say it makes office politics look like a cakewalk. And that's our list of games that give a fresh, sometimes terrifying spin on our world. From alien takeovers to drug-fueled dystopias, these games have taken us on quite the trip through alternative worlds. I mean, we've dodged mutants in Moscow's metro tunnels, teleported through plague-ridden streets of Dunwall, and even taken a swing at werewolves with steampunk tech in Victorian London. It's been a wild ride. But let's face it, while these realities may seem far-fetched, sometimes they hit a little too close to home. What do you think? The political intrigues in The Witcher 3 might feel eerily familiar, or maybe the corporate overreach in Prey gives you chills. And don't get me started on Control's bureaucratic nightmare. Who hasn't felt like their office building had a mind of its own at some point? If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit like, comment below on which alternate world you'd want to visit or avoid, and don't forget to subscribe for more mind-bending game content. Until next time, keep questioning reality and keep gaming.